twitter.com/wakeupcalldt and facebook.com/livenowdt, as well as youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Happy to have you here hanging out inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here for you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and the Fantasy Football Power Hour here for you every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But we did a double dose this week so we could get through all the running backs of the AFC. Want to make sure that we gave you a full set of the AFC North and East, which we did yesterday, and now the West and South we will do today with Mr. Mike Sofka, my partner on the line here with us of all things fantasy football on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, where we were so proud to be last night. And every single month doing live shows on site on location on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Happy to be there with you, and obviously indoor dining 7 days a week. There's outside dining as well. They have a volleyball court, and you can sit around that court, which is really cool. So make sure that you go out there to 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And, of course, you can call them for takeout and delivery at 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. With that being stated, let's bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Mike Sofka. Mike, how are we doing today?
We are living fine in the sunshine. How are you, Dan?
Doing very well. I like that. Living fine in the sunshine. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all by any stretch of the imagination. And we got a lot to get into, a lot to unpack today. I'm excited about the opportunity that we have here to speak on the teams of the AFC West as well as the AFC South when we take a look at these running back situations. Mike, just thoughts overall about the running back before we get into speaking on the rest of the AFC backfield situations. What are your thoughts on the running back in the here and now as far as where it stands in the world of football? I mean, is there more relevancy to it? Is it still a dime a dozen? How do you look at the value of a running back right now as we step into 2021 fantasy? Well, we may have lost Mike here for a second. Mike, can you hear us? We may have lost Mr. Sofka. We'll bring him back here and get him set and ready to go here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly means that thing called life. There he is. So we have Mr. Sofka here with us. Mike, your thoughts on the value of a running back in the here and now as we step into 2021, 2022 fantasy. What is the value of a running back? Have they gained more value? Is it still low? I mean, where is the value of a running back in fantasy right now?
Well, our hand as fantasy players is kind of forced at the running back position by that attitude from the NFL owners, GMs, to coaching staffs, etc. But it's just math at a certain point. They don't just come up with this decision arbitrarily and go, oh, we're going to pick on running backs or we're going to weigh down running backs. I mean, there's no conscious effort to do that. It's just math at a certain point. That's what I like about fantasy football. There are a few guys that, can transcend that, and those are the guys you want to target. You always want to target a Christian McCaffrey, a Dalvin Cook, an Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry. These are stalwarts at their position. Meanwhile, there's a muddied mess after maybe 7 or 8 guys, and then it's a matter of hitting on the right ones. And the way I like to do that is I like rookie running backs. But I'm not going to overpay for them, and the key is getting the right one. Because of the the big need for running backs, and because they're a 2 to 3 year position, most NFL careers are 3 to 5 years, but these guys are 2 to 3 years because of the beating, the pounding they take. So the better ones are going to avoid a lot of contact when they can, but not afraid to take that contact or make that contact, initiate it. There's a few guys I like this year. We'll get into that a little bit today, I'm sure, but it is what it is. Running back can make or break your team, but you don't want to overpay for running backs, that's for sure. There's a bunch of them out there, and as long as you're in a 10 or 12-team league, you're going to be fine. Where it gets scary is when you're in 16, 18, 24, 32-team leagues. Yeah. Then we're talking a different story.
Yeah, and that's where that's where things get difficult, when you have to really get in and dig deep into some of this. And that's why we're looking at the backfields across the NFL here to get you set on the season to let you know, not just ranking-wise, but to let you know about the backfield, because some of these guys are going to be pretty low on the rankings. However, you're going to have to know their names as you get set and move forward, because you need to obviously prepare for your season, prepare for the fact that somebody might go down, somebody may get hurt, and you're going to have to be hip to the game before everybody else is, be one step ahead instead of two steps behind, as Mike always talks about. So, with that being stated, Mike, we're going to go to the AFC West first today, and we'll take a look at the backfield of the Denver Broncos. Melvin Gordon still there. Javonte Williams, drafted by the Denver Broncos. He used to be with the Minnesota Vikings. He is now a Denver Bronco. Royce Freeman is still on the roster, but maybe will not be when all is said and done. I feel like the Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams 1-2 punch makes a lot of sense, and I know you said you like rookie running backs, and Javonte is a rookie running back, and I feel like he's going to be able to fit in immediately. What are your thoughts on the Denver Broncos?
Pookie, that's his nickname, Javonte Williams, and it was exciting watching him and Michael Carter this year, and it brings me back to days of Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown and Sony Michel and Nick Chubb. So this was just another duo. You go back, Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram. So this has happened before. You want to make sure you're hitting on the right one. And I think Javonte Williams has a great situation here, whereas he's got Melvin Gordon. The whole team doesn't have to lean on him. It is going to be a little bit of a committee, but this is a power running back. This is a powerful dude. 5'10", 212, runs a 4.55. This guy can get it done. He has a stiff arm that would make Earl Campbell jealous. The guy's a beast. He runs hard, and that may be his downfall. He's got to learn not to take as much contact. He's got to learn when to give up his body and when not to give up his body. You can't sell out every play in the NFL. So these guys are going to make that adjustment for him. He's going to make that. Him and Melvin Gordon are going to be an excellent 1-2 punch. But in fantasy, we don't like that all the time, because that takes away, one guy's taken away from the other. So I have Melvin Gordon ranked at 27, and I have Javonte Williams a little bit at 34. And I think just it's going to be the learning curve. It's going to be predictability. When he gets in the game, he's going to be running the ball. He's going to need to work on some pass blocking things. The prognosticators have Javonte Williams anywhere from 29 all the way up through 45 on the running back rankings. And some other guys, give you an example for Melvin Gordon, too. Melvin Gordon's ranked as high as 24, but as high as 51. So it's just pick your poison there. But I would always lean on the rookie. You know, these guys want to prove themselves. Melvin Gordon knows better. He knows where he's at in his career. He's going to protect his body. Javonte Williams needs to learn how to do that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of value in Javonte Williams, for you. I think getting him in the middle of the draft, letting him dip a little bit, depending how deep your draft is. If you have maybe 10 to 12 teams, maybe he could fall to, round 8 or 9 for you, and you could pick him up here. I do think he has a lot of value. I think he's one of the rookies that's going to make a impact in this season. I think that he could potentially make a deep impact on your team. Like Mike said, Melvin Gordon's going to protect his body. He knows better. Javonte's going to go out there and he's going to do his thing. He's going to play free. And I think the thing with Melvin Gordon is we have seen that he's not the dominant he's not going to get every single touch. Very rarely do teams anymore provide one player to get all the touches. And Melvin Gordon, if there was going to be one player, it's not going to be him. So I think, and that's not a knock on him, it's just saying where he is in his career and the fact that, Austin Eckler was used with him in the past when he was with the Chargers. So I think that ultimately we will see Javonte out there. And, there'll be a passing of the torch, a changing of the guard within a season or so. And before that happens, I think that we're going to see them both. Do they cannibalize each other here like in some other places? I don't think it's going to be as bad. So I do see value in Javonte Williams and picking him up. Like I said, I think you can wait in the draft to get him a little bit later. People will take Melvin Gordon because they know his name. But Javonte Williams is one of those guys that I think people are going to be asking to trade you for later on in the season. So be the person that makes that decision before everybody else realizes they should have when it comes to Javonte Williams. the next one that we have up, next team we have up, and looking at the backfields of the NFL to get you set for 2021 fantasy inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, the Kansas City Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams, Jerick McKinnon trying to make it happen here, Darwin Thompson coming to this team and out of Utah State, where my buddy DeAndre Smith was his running backs coach. Thoughts on this one, Mike? I mean, is there any value behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and where does Clyde's value go in the grand scheme of fantasy?
Well, I've learned a long time ago that, if you want your expectations met, every once in a while you're going to have to readjust those. In other words, you can't cookie cutter the thing. You can't have every running back be a workhorse top 5 running back in the league. Not everybody's Christian McCaffrey. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was labeled with that coming in. He had an outstanding opening to last year, 138 yards and a touchdown in the opener. And then it kind of faded off. He only had one more 100-yard rushing day. He's not made to be the workhorse, and that's okay. You just got to know what you have when you're getting a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, he's probably going to be overdrafted in a league, and he's probably not going to make your team if you're following my rankings. I've seen him ranked as high as 13, as low as 24. I have him ranked number 15, but he's the only KC back you want. Barring an injury, maybe you keep an eye on Darrell Williams on the waiver wire. It's the thing, as long as your expectations are in line. If you're expecting Clyde Edwards-Helaire to beat Christian McCaffrey, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're expecting Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be a good RB2 for your team, well, you're going to get what you pay for.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Clyde, like you said, is he the dominant, top guy on your team at running back for fantasy? He shouldn't be, but is he close? I mean, can he be that high number 2? Absolutely. And I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's not the guy that I want to lean my entire team on, but he is the best number 2 I think that you can find. So to me, yes, there's a ton of value in him. I don't see a lot of value fantasy-wise behind him because, one of these guys will have a big game or two, and that's probably it. The interesting thing here right now, just to let y'all know, and I know that this is not the same. We're talking about running backs today, but the reality of it all is we're in a place right now where Julio Jones is up again with the thoughts that this man is looking to be traded by the Atlanta Falcons. So just to let you know, when we look at this, most receiving yards per game in NFL history, Julio Jones is number 1 with 95.5, followed by Calvin Johnson with 86.1, Michael Thomas with 85, Antonio Brown with 84.5, and Odell Beckham Jr. with 83.3. The interesting thing about this is every single one of these players is still playing in the NFL except for Megatron, Calvin Johnson. So interesting that Julio Jones back up here again, that the trade rumors are heating up again, that Julio Jones could be moving. I don't know why I feel like he's going to Miami. But, that's what's on my radar right now. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know why I'm thinking.
Be a Raider. Send him to the Raiders. Send him to Gruden.
Well, the thing is, who wouldn't want a Julio Jones? And at this point in his career, to go on to a team where he's not going to be asked to be the, everything. Obviously, anywhere he goes, people are going to key in on him, which is going to help out your other receivers. You can't put him on a team that has no help, but you can put him on a team that has, some rising stars, and maybe somebody who already is a number 1 or is very close to being one. I think Julio Jones brings a lot to a team. He's very talented. His foot issues and ankle and whatnot, those are the things that make me concerned. But if he's on a team with somebody who's more than capable, like I said, almost a number 1 or someone who's that rising star that's getting there, turning that corner, it's a good team for him to go on to. So, it could work out for Julio. If he doesn't have to do everything, then maybe he can last an entire season, which is what I hope for him. If he goes to, certain teams out there, I don't see how Tampa fits him in. I don't see how, they have any more space or any more room. But Miami makes sense to me. So Miami makes sense. Urban Meyer taking a plunge there too because he likes to, make some big-time decisions. That's a thought. But I don't know. I see Miami in this. Or I also see Green Bay. You're trying to keep Aaron Rodgers happy. You just throw everything at him. Say, okay, you know what? Now you can have Devontae Adams and Julio Jones. So we'll see where things shake out, but we'll obviously be monitoring the Julio Jones news as it comes in. Getting back to Kansas City in their backfield, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like I said, a high number 2. This is a guy who some people will have in their top 5 in rankings when it comes to running backs when you're going into your draft. So he is somebody that people consider to be up there. I consider him to be a high number 2 choice, not a number 1, but a number 2 choice. Somebody that if I'm at the bottom of a snake draft, I'm going to pick him up on the way back around. If I have, that pick where I can grab somebody and then grab him back as we're going. But behind him, as I was talking about, there's really nothing to write home about. Darrell Williams will have a big day, and people will pick him up. Jerick McKinnon will have a spark and a big game, and somebody will grab him. Darwin Thompson might return something, and somebody wants to jump on that. But the reality of it all is to take a pick and use it on Darrell Williams, Jerick McKinnon, or Darwin Thompson is just not intelligent to do. And it's no knock on those guys. It's when you're building your fantasy team and you only have so many spots, you don't have a 53-man roster. You probably have a 16 to 18-man roster, and you have to be smart about who you pick up. So I would say Clyde, it's simple, and beyond that, Darrell Williams, only an emergency situation, but that's when push comes to shove and you're going to have to go to the waiver wire, and I still think there may be better people out there for you to pick up. The Los Angeles Chargers have gone through a makeover. Who would have thought that Austin Eckler, the second coming of Darren Sproles to some people, was going to be the dominant back there? But he is, because as we just spoke about, Melvin Gordon is a Denver Bronco, and he's been there for a minute. So Austin Eckler is the number 1 guy currently. Justin Jackson has been a guy that they've used. Josh Kelly, they've used him as well. They're both still on the team, and the question is, how much will they be utilized, and what could we see here when everything shakes out? Is it going to be 3 backs? Is it going to be 2 backs? Austin Eckler was that guy that you could kind of trust to do a little bit of everything, but I don't see him as your dominant every down break through the tackle back. Is he a guy that's going to get 20 carries a game on average? I don't think so. So, Mike, how do you see the Chargers in the backfield for fantasy?
Yeah, I like Austin Eckler. I think you're just a little bit off the mark there. Look, I know Eckler hasn't had even 600 yards in an NFL season, which is more receptions per game than most other guys. I think it's 4.6, and that's a little better than James White, Nyheim Hines, and those guys are the third down pass catching backs. He's capable of being the every down back. He's capable of being on for the first couple plays, but there's no need for that. They have a Justin Jackson. They have a Joshua Kelly. So again, with your expectations tempered, as long as you know what you're getting from Austin Eckler. But some people are going to overdraft him as well. I've seen him as high as 5. I've seen him as low as 19. So, again, he's an RB2. He's a top-level RB2, maybe bottom-end 1 for me. Last year, he finished as RB11 in PPR leagues. That's where you're going to get the bread and butter with this cat. You're going to get him catching the ball, getting you the PPR points. That's 5 points a game right there, just him taking the field and catching passes. So it's a great position to be in when Austin Eckler is your running back. But again, don't overdraft him.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, what I'm saying is I don't see the between the tackle running. He did not have a 100-yard rushing game at all this past season. Some games he had 18 yards, 45 yards, 12 yards, was used sparingly in some of these games. Didn't score a lot either when push came to shove here. Didn't have a lot going on running the ball. Had 1 touchdown rushing last season. Had 3 the year before, and then 3 the year before that, and 2 in 2017-18. So Mike's right. Where you get the value is him catching the ball out of the backfield. He had 3 touchdowns in 2017-18, then 3, then 8 in 2019-20, and he had 2 last season. I mean, this is a guy who knows how to be a part of the offense in that way. Last season, he had 2 games where he had 11 receptions. I'll repeat that. He had 2 games where he had 11 receptions. That's 11 points for just showing up to the party there, not even having to get into the end zone. 84 yards and 85 yards on those 2 games, respectively. So Austin Eckler, great for PPR, great to pick up, not your number 1 running back, not your traditional running back, and that's why I'm not as high on him. But as far as overall value and catching the ball out of the backfield, he's the best bet above James White. I do agree with that. So he is someone to look to take. He's just not the number one. And, the behind him, that's where I'm kind of interested to see Justin Jackson and Josh Kelly. Do they do anything? I mean, do you pick up one of these guys in the 17th or 18th round and hope that things work out? They're not household names. They're not guys that, people are typically going to pick up, but somebody's going to have to pick up the slack somewhere. And which one of the guys are going to do it is going to be open to a competition right now as we move forward. The Las Vegas Raiders have Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, one of the guys to run the ball out of Alabama into the NFL in a very positive way. And obviously the Steelers are hoping that Najee Harris will do the same thing. Josh Jacobs, very successful as a running back. I don't think Mike and I need to tell you about that. We will. But he's obviously, if you have him on your team, he's an arguable top 5 overall running back here when we take a look at things, in my opinion. Kenyon Drake is coming from Arizona to back him up. He went from Miami, where he was not really doing much of anything, went to Arizona, had himself a nice time, and then Arizona let him go. And so now Kenyon Drake is backing up Josh Jacobs, which gives some value to Kenyon Drake. I don't think we can overlook him. Mike, what do you think about the Raiders?
Yeah, I think Kenyon Drake is going to greatly affect Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has, had a couple strong seasons to start, 19 touchdowns and 1,300 total yards, but it's not enough. I mean, it's not enough for a guy of his talent. It's not enough for a first-round running back out of Alabama to be at that point. They bring in Kenyon Drake, and all I hear every time I see John Gruden, he's talk about Kenyon Drake and his receiving ability. That's not a good situation for Josh Jacobs. If you're telling me that on third down, Kenyon Drake's definitely going to be there. In the 2-minute drills, Kenyon Drake's going to be the guy on the field, not Josh Jacobs. That's a problem. So I think Josh Jacobs takes a little bit of a hit for me. I think you're going to get that diehard Raiders fan in your draft that's going to overdraft a guy like this. But again, as long as you know what your expectations are going in, you're going to get what you pay for. I got Josh Jacobs at 21 on the PPR ranking. I've seen some other guys have him as high as 15, as low as 23. So I'm on the shy side. And then a little bit below him at 34 is Kenyon Drake. I don't think Kenyon Drake is going to get those opportunities as much on first and second down outside of an injury to Josh Jacobs. So I think that, it's going to be a running back by committee type approach. And, as long as you draft effectively, if one of these guys falls to you at the right spot, by all means. But, again, don't overdraft these guys.
And I think the reality of it all is Josh Jacobs will be overdrafted. I mean, it's his name, it's things that he's done. Someone's going to think that they got a steal when they go and grab him and pick him up. I do believe that he will be overdrafted just because the thought of him is that he is going to do a good job. The thought of him is that you don't want to play against him. So his value is going to be up, I think, on draft day in a lot of places. I'm going to see him go early. But, the question, and I guess, Mike, here's the question. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs, available to you at the same time. Let's say the other guys that you're thinking of are gone. Who do you take?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's got the more potent offense. He's proven himself. And, he's proven himself to be what he is. He's just outside those RB1s.
He also doesn't have as big of a threat behind him. So, with Kenyon Drake and whatnot, I mean, Darrell Williams, to me, is not going to threaten the time of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I think that's another piece to the puzzle as well as we take a look at this. I mean, I see value in them both, as I was stating before. Josh Jacobs, to me, I do think that he can rise. I do think there's a lot of good that he can bring. But Kenyon Drake coming in there is saying something. Kenyon Drake is one of those backup running backs that if he comes onto your team, he doesn't come onto your team to sit. I think when he came to Arizona, it was like a hello, and then he became the number one guy eventually. I'm not saying that he's going to oust Josh Jacobs at all, but I'm saying he's not there to sit and watch. He's there to be a part of it. Mike mentioned how John Gruden's talking about him and the positives that are coming from watching his game. I think we're going to see both of these gentlemen. It's going to take down Josh Jacobs a little bit. Like I said, he will get overdrafted, but Kenyon Drake is a great thing when somebody takes Josh Jacobs and you wait a little bit and you take Kenyon Drake and they laugh at you going, well, he's never going to play. Well, you should know from this show that we believe he is, and we believe he'll take care of business. With that being said, I think both of them have an opportunity to affect your team in a positive way, and Kenyon Drake can be one of those sleepers that could really help you out because he will not be overdrafted and he will be overlooked. That's why I'm calling him a sleeper. But the way he plays his game is he's fully awake. So with that being said, we'll take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we come back, Mike and I will be discussing the AFC South right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call and Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you're listening, you're watching on Facebook Live on facebook.com/livenowdt, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're connected with the show, we welcome you back into the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. I was out there last night and always having some fun with the Wildcat, with West Genesee fantasy football and everything we do out there on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Open 7 days a week for indoor and outdoor dining, as well as takeout and delivery. And you could call for takeout and delivery 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. So much appreciation, and thank you all for being here and being a part of the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, with that being said, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, Mike and I breaking down the running back backfields around the NFL, taking a look at them, not just looking at the names that you know, but the names you may not know, and the moves that have been made that you may not have seen or maybe you forgot about. That's why Mike and I break it down deeper than anywhere else you're going to go, to give you information that you need and that you should have as you get set for your upcoming fantasy football season. So that has brought us to the AFC South as we break down the backfields of the NFL. We've done the North, the East, and the West, and now the AFC South is here. Mike, the Houston Texans, they don't have a running back that came there, was drafted there. They now have a 3 deep that are all guys from someplace else. David Johnson, who came from Arizona last season, Philip Lindsay, who comes from the Broncos, and Mark Ingram, who comes from the Baltimore Ravens. Thoughts on the Houston Texans backfield, and if there's any value in David Johnson, Philip Lindsay, and Mark Ingram all trying to share time back here?
Well, this is a unique situation in that it really depends on what happens at quarterback. I mean, Deshaun Watson is facing a lot of legal situations right now. He could face a possible league suspension in redraft leagues. I'm totally away from him this year as a quarterback, but that could dictate what happens. Is the quarterback going to be Tyrod Taylor? Ryan Finley's on a roster. They drafted Davis Mills. They just signed Jeff Driscoll, which to me signals they're going to make a move. Something's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, and it may happen sooner than we think. That being said, David Johnson's the de facto guy. He's going to be the starter. He's going to be the lead horse in that committee approach with Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay. Now, Houston brought in 14 playmakers, 14 offensive skill free agents in the offseason here. So you're right. It's kind of like a makeover type thing here. You got to kind of wonder, are they going to have to throw the ball because they're going to be behind in games? And is Tyrod Taylor going to be the guy to have at quarterback? And does that mean David Johnson's on the field? Does that mean Philip Lindsay's on the field catching passes, running that 2-minute drill? So it's imperative that we understand before drafting a running back from Houston, that we understand fully the quarterback situation. So before you draft a running back, know who the quarterback is there without fail. If there's any question, if your draft is before a decision with Deshaun Watson, I may even stay away. I've got David Johnson as the lead guy in that back. I've got him at about 28 on redraft, and I got Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay in the 50s. Mark Ingram's 154 years old. He might get used a lot early. He might have a problem making the team. But I think, again, a lot depends on the quarterback situation. So beware of Houston.
Yeah, and I think what we're looking at right now, like you said, beware of Houston. I agree with that wholeheartedly. They not only did they draft a quarterback in this year's draft for 2021, but it was their first pick, Mike. Their first pick that they had wasn't until the third round. With all the trades and everything that they've done, the Houston Texans did not have a pick in the first 2 rounds. So when they did finally draft their first pick in the third round, 67th overall, they took a quarterback. That's the first thing they did. That should say something. It's the first move they made. They didn't go to defensive line where they've lost guys. They didn't go to boost up their secondary. They didn't try to find a running back to make this all make sense instead of using a bunch of guys that have been elsewhere. They didn't look at dealing with a receiver after letting go of DeAndre Hopkins. They looked at quarterback. That should really say something to people out there. Now, Deshaun Watson, to so many people, was a top 4, top 5, top 10 fantasy quarterback. Now with everything going on, Tyrod Taylor's there. Davis Mills was drafted. First time in the draft this year, you take a quarterback and you bring in Ryan Finley, who's 5 seconds into the NFL and doesn't have any wear and tear on his body hardly, being with Cincinnati. This team has brought in a guy with experience starting, Tyrod Taylor, experience starting, Ryan Finley, and a Stanford quarterback in Davis Mills. That's saying a lot to me right now. So we're going to have to watch this very closely. And I'm just surprised that no move's been made yet. But David Johnson, Philip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, they're all talented. There was a time where Philip Lindsay was saving your fantasy season. There was a time where David Johnson was considered a top 4 fantasy running back. There was a time where Mark Ingram resurrected his career in New Orleans. I think it was the wrong decision for Mark to leave Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. But here's where we are. Do I think that any one of these guys is going to save you? No. Do I think any one of these guys is going to be consistent? No. Do I think any one of these guys is going to be dominant in the beginning? No. I think it's going to be hard to really figure out, and you could get really pissed off because one guy might have 70, one guy might have 40, one guy might have 10. That's what this looks like. A lot of talent, a lot of experience, but who's going to be a 100-yard back? I don't think any of them. Not consistently. So I would stay away from the Houston Texans. I know you can pick up these guys maybe to help you out, but as much as I like the names, I don't like the situation, and that's why I'd stay away from it. The Indianapolis Colts up next on the block here with everything going on here, the chopping block of who's going to make it and who's not. They've used a bunch of different guys here too, Mike, but these are guys that actually have experience on the team. These aren't all newbies. these aren't all new faces. These are returning faces. The Indianapolis Colts, with Carson Wentz being their quarterback, they have Jonathan Taylor, a rookie who did well last year. Marlon Mack is back from the South Florida Bulls. Nyheim Hines, and I covered him in South Florida, covered Nyheim Hines at NC State. He's back. He's a little bit of everything. And Jordan Wilkins, who got some time out there. What are your thoughts on the crowded backfield of Indianapolis, and how does this shake out? Is it still Jonathan Taylor's team, or is the decision to keep Marlon Mack put you in a situation where you feel like Jonathan's going to lose a little bit?
Yeah, no, this is Jonathan Taylor. This is similar to some other situations around the league. Even though it's going to be somewhat of a committee approach, and even though Nyheim Hines is going to do well PPR league for you as a flex, Jonathan Taylor's a guy. He's ranked number 7 on my rankings. I've seen him as high as 5 and as low as 11. He's definitely an RB1. He's got the youth. He's got the power. He can catch the ball. But Nyheim Hines, that's his role. Marlon Mack is going to be there to back them up as well. Heaven forbid either one of these guys. But I think you're looking at a Nyheim Hines at around the late 30s on the ranking. I've seen him in the 40s elsewhere, and Marlon Mack in the 50s. So, again, as long as you know I didn't even mention Jordan Wilkins either. So there's another capable running back. So, it's just a matter of what shakes out. I do feel a little better about their quarterback situation with Carson Wentz reuniting with Frank Wright. I think this can be a great opportunity for Jonathan Taylor to take his game to the next level. So I think everything's looking up. They got some young pass catchers there. Michael Pittman didn't really get to play. Paris Campbell didn't ever get to play. They still have T.Y. Hilton in the fold. They got some veteran leadership at the tight end position in Jack Doyle. So all these things are going to play a part in making Carson Wentz successful, and Carson Wentz is going to help make Jonathan Taylor successful. I look forward to having Jonathan Taylor on my team this year.
Yeah, I know Jonathan Taylor's one of the guys that you were high on and definitely saw value in. Marlon Mack, I thought him and Nyheim Hines before the drafting of Jonathan Taylor were going to be able to do some good things, but with Jonathan Taylor coming out, we look at what he was able to do this past season as a rookie. He had multiple games of at least 100 yards, had 101 against Minnesota with a touchdown. He had 150 against the Raiders with 2 touchdowns, had 253 on 30 carries and 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville. Just really putting it together this season. As a rookie, he had over 1,100 yards from scrimmage just running the ball, not even receiving. Receiving the ball, that's, he a little bit. He had in this season, he had I shouldn't say a little bit. He had 299 yards receiving and a touchdown, 36 receptions this year. So Jonathan Taylor doing a little bit of everything. From scrimmage, when you add it all together, this man put together over 1,400 yards from scrimmage. Over 1,400 yards as a rookie. Just to bring that to you. 11 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 36 receptions, 232 carries this season, averaged 5 yards a carry. It's clear that Jonathan Taylor should be your guy. Mike, litmus test again. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor. Who do you put?
Oh, I'm going Jonathan Taylor by at least 5 position rankings here.
Okay. So, and I agree with you. I wanted to really show people that bouncing ball of Jonathan Taylor, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then Josh Jacobs as we look at the upcoming 2021 fantasy season. Do I think there's value in Nyheim Hines? Yeah. Because of what he's been able to do, because of how he has kind of gone about his business and whatnot, I do think that there is value with Nyheim Hines because of his H-back and what he did at NC State. Jordan Wilkins in an emergency situation and Marlon Mack in an emergency situation, if God forbid somebody goes down with an injury. But outside of that, this is Jonathan Taylor. This is a great pickup. This man definitely is arguably the best thing that they have on the team right now as an offensive weapon because T.Y. Hilton's on the back end of his career, and maybe Carson Wentz can ignite that a little bit. But the way that I look at everything here, the Colts have found a gem in Jonathan Taylor, and you have found a gem with him. If you have the opportunity to pick him up in your draft, I definitely would suggest that you do exactly that. The Jacksonville Jaguars are up next on the board here Mike, and taking a look at them, they drafted Travis Etienne Jr., 25th overall, their second pick in the first round. James Robinson was almost the Rookie of the Year as an undrafted free agent out of Illinois State last year. What are your thoughts on this? Carlos Hyde is back too, and there's a few other guys, but ultimately the question is, does James Robinson have any value with Travis Etienne now on the team?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you got to know what you're getting here. And, Urban Meyer has, even practiced Travis Etienne. He's been lining up and he's been running all receivers. He's been running with the receivers. So that should tell you something. I think what's going to happen is Urban Meyer's going to have an up-tempo offense, a no-huddle offense, make it more comfortable for Trevor Lawrence out of the shotgun, and that's going to bode well for Travis Etienne above James Robinson. Now, James Robinson comes out of nowhere last year, Illinois State. He racks up 1,000 yards in 14 games, 10 touchdowns, 344 receiving yards. Excellent job. Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. But here we go. They bring in a new system, a new quarterback, a new coach, and everything changes. That's how it works in the NFL, not for long. But he still has some value. He's still a great runner. He can catch the ball. But again, I think both of these guys are considered starters, but it is somewhat of a committee. And Travis Etienne scares me if I'm an opponent because I think he can break one at any time. He can break tackles as well, which means all he's got to do is make one move, put his foot in the ground, he's gone. So Travis Etienne's scary. He's a number 4 overall rookie, especially if you're drafting in Dynasty, offensive only, of course. But looking at James Robinson, I think James Robinson has some value in PPR leagues. I think he can catch the ball, but Travis Etienne's the guy to have. Travis Etienne's the guy you want. He's going to be in the
Ryan Fitzpatrick is on the Washington football team. That's pretty fun. We didn't get to talk about that yesterday. We'll get to that right at the top of today's show as we look at the winners and the losers from day one of NFL free agency. I'm Adam Azer with Jamie Eisenberg. We bonus potted last night. Now Dave is here. Dave, what do you think overall from a fantasy standpoint about everything that transpired yesterday? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it exciting? I'm just a spoiler. I think it was a little underwhelming.
It's okay. Let people do those things because there's
it was right. It was
that's exactly what it was.
Are you? I didn't know if you were giving me like the wrong buzzer, or if you were like,
there's a couple moves that are kind of interesting.
I think
John Smith moving
James
on
Robinson
to New England.
Multiple games
I think
over
that has potential to be really, really great.
As an
Fitzpatrick in
undrafted rookie who
Washington,
became
I think
the
has
starter
potential to be fun.
Because of Leonard
Just
Fournette's
about everything
not
else.
there, and other guys get hurt, and different things happen, and things don't
maybe
work
today
out.
will be better.
He was like the fourth string guy, and he ends up rushing for over 1,000 yards. Even when this team was 1-15 last year.
Go ahead,
These are his numbers: 102 yards in a game and a touchdown.
119 in a touchdown. Offensive line moves, that was fun. I mean, come on, this man did a ton
inside of this Jacksonville Jaguars
Patriots
team.
were spending money like crazy. They're the guy in the salary cap league that just goes all in on 2 running backs and just sits out everything else.
4 out of 5
all their
games
money.
in a row where he
There
had
was
at
some
least
fun
20
things that happened
carries.
yesterday.
James Robinson,
the
yes,
Tooney
things
move to
changed a
Kansas
little
City
bit
was fun.
with
Winsley to the
Travis
Chargers, that was
Etienne
fun.
coming
Yeah,
into town.
these are fun.
And,
I
but you would
like
like to
fun
think
is the
with
right
Urban
word.
Meyer
It's
saying
like,
that they think they'd be in the top 8
let's have a party.
in the nation
I'm
with
glad that
Carlos
Patrick
Hyde,
Mahomes is not
Travis
going to get pummeled
Etienne,
anymore like he did in the
and
Super Bowl.
James Robinson.
maybe.
We're not there yet.
Figure out a way to
Tackle.
utilize them.
Not gonna get
Hyde will
killed up
have
the
some
middle.
moments
We're not
here
there
and
yet.
there.
We're not
He didn't
there
bring
for
him
the
in for no
Chiefs.
reason, but
They have a lot left
ultimately,
to gain
I
back.
think,
Right now, we're looking at a team with 2 guards
the value
that are
goes
2
down a
very
little
good
bit,
guards, and Duvernay
and
Tardif and
Travis
and
Etienne is the guy that knows Trevor Lawrence. He knows his tendencies. There's a big benefit of having Travis Etienne on the field with Trevor Lawrence, but James Robinson's one of those guys that you can't forget. I hope Jacksonville doesn't, because he does bring so much to it, and he is going to drop. This is the beauty of James Robinson. Nobody knew who he was. Then now people know who he is, so then you thought that they were going to draft him, but then the real draft has Travis Etienne, which means he's going to fall again. So he's one of those guys that you would think, oh my gosh, somebody's going to take him, and now everybody's paying attention to him, so I can't sneak him in. But now you kind of almost can again because of Travis Etienne. So just so you know, I think both of them are going to have value. Both of them are going to do some good things in fantasy this year. Etienne's going to have to work his way in. James Robinson already knows how to do it. I hope that they balance out and that this could be a nice 1-2 punch. I hope that we can see more like a Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, where they both are eating, as opposed to a place where it's, feast or famine for some of these guys. Next up and final one here, Mike, the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry is there. They did right by him. They're not franchising this dude. He's actually got a nice contract for a little bit. Darrington Evans is behind him. But, this team is really not leaning on having a billion running backs as they've had in the past. Instead, they have a bunch of wide receivers, and they're trying to figure out who's going to fit. A.J. Brown's there, but Corey Davis isn't anymore. Josh Reynolds is now on this team. Des Fitzpatrick, and so on and so forth. A bunch of names that aren't household names are there as well. What are your thoughts on Derrick Henry, and does anybody else get a touch?
Yeah, draft Derrick Henry. All right, good show, Dan.
Have a good day.
This is something else. Derrick Henry's going to be the workhorse again. He's got back-to-back rushing titles. It wouldn't be surprising to me if he makes it to third in a row. He's, a top 5 fantasy player overall even. So I have him ranked number 5 on my rankings for running backs. So I should tell you right now, I'm heavy on running backs at the start, which is odd for me, but things will adjust over time. But one thing that won't adjust is Derrick Henry's the workhorse. He's the between the tackle guy. He can stiff arm me into the 5th row if he wants to. He can catch the ball, but that's what Darrington Evans is going to do. He's going to take over that Dion Lewis role, and he's going to be the guy, the third down guy. Don't worry though, Darrington Evans isn't going to cut into Derrick Henry's production. Nothing bad like that's going to happen because Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. He's a horse. He's a beast. You want Derrick Henry. If you have the ability to draft Derrick Henry, draft Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where we don't have to say much to you, okay? You know what you need to do, and you just need to go and do it. It's kind of like Jacksonville drafting Trevor Lawrence. It was like, hey, you know what you're supposed to do. Just go out and do what you're supposed to do. So Derrick Henry, have a good night. Have a great day. God bless. That's where it's at. This is one of the guys that you don't need to think twice about. He's somebody who is incredibly talented. Darrington Evans didn't have much of anything out there last year. He had 54 total yards in 5 games. So, could there be a trick play to somebody, or Jeremy McNichols gets out there for 5 seconds? Sure. But Derrick Henry ended last season with 2,027 rushing yards. Not all purpose, rushing yards. 2,027. He carried the ball 378 times. Back-to-back seasons carrying the ball at least 300 times. The season before that, he carried it 215. So he has had no less than 1,000 yards in each of his last 3 seasons. 2018-19, 1,059. 2019-20, he upped it to 1,540. Last season, he upped it to 2,027. He had 12 touchdowns in 2018-19, upped it to 16, upped it to 17 last season. This man knows what he's doing. On his career, he averages 5 yards a carry. He's played in 78 games, and he has carried the ball over 1,100 times for almost 6,000 total yards. He's only gone up in his career. Rushing yards from 490 to 744 to the 1059, 1540, and 2027, I said. His best rushing yards per carry is right now, which is 5.4. So, he's only getting better with time. Derrick Henry is a fine wine. He's an enigma. Normally, running backs are not going up to 2,000 yards in their 5th season in the NFL. So, give credit where credit is due. Draft him. Pray he stays healthy. And just let him go and run all over every team that you play. Outside of 1 week a season, you should be playing, which is the bye week, you should be playing Derrick Henry. So enjoy it, have fun with it, and there's really not much to say. With that being stated, Mike Sofka, inside of the Hall of Fame Fantasy Football Power Hour. Here with us, HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com, inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. We appreciate having Mike here. We appreciate you being here on Winning Fantasy Football on Facebook. And, of course, being with us on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as listening on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. So plenty of ways to connect with us. We're every Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And we extended this week to make sure we got to every running back of the AFC. Mike, as always, I appreciate it. I thank you for your time and your expertise, and all of these conversations have only gotten me more and more excited about what's to come in the upcoming fantasy drafts that we have going on.
Yeah, it's about 3D. Dominate your draft day. Dominate draft day. Go to the website. I got rankings up right now. They're free. PPR, standard, dynasty, rookie. Check out the adjusted explosive index. I am ready to go. I'm ready to draft today. Let's go. Let's get this season going. But I do update the site regularly, so just go check it out, HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com, and follow along with us at the Facebook group, Winning Fantasy Football. Thank you, Dan, as always, for the opportunity.
All right, man. I'll talk with you soon.
All right.
Take care. That coming from Mr. Mike Sofka of HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com, having some fun with us here, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show today. I want to thank Mike for joining us for a double duty of fantasy football this week with 2 Fantasy Football Power Hours. And I want to thank the Wildcat for being an amazing local company here in Central and Upstate New York that is there for you for all different things, from all of your parties and your events and your get-togethers to going out on a date, to grabbing a drink with the girls or with your buddies, to just going there for dinner, to picking up something and bringing it back home or having something catered to you. The Wildcat Sports Pub is absolutely amazing, and they cater to all different needs and all different events and different things going on. They truly are a jack of all trades, and I appreciate them so very much, especially for our exclusive Wildcat show that we do with the West Genesee High School Wildcats athletic programs every single month at the Wildcat Sports Pub. We got to do 2 this month, and I want to thank the wrestling team that we had here this week. I also want to thank the boys lacrosse team and everything that we have coming up. So God bless each and every single one of you, and much appreciation. You can go back and watch those videos on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. They'll be added, and on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.com. If you go to the Central New York tab and click on the Wildcat Sports Pub, you can go back and watch videos that we've had there with the awesome teams. So thank you to each and every single one of them. Thank you to Mike Sofka. Thank you to the Wildcat. Thank you to Bo Edmondson for video 1 in hour number 1. And thank you to all of you. Find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. And in the meantime, God bless, no stress, do your best. I'll talk with you soon.